Hey everyone. Today we're talking about travel routines. I am out traveling, doing another short vacation, visiting friends, and yesterday I wasn't able to get any trumpet playing in. The next 2 days I probably won't be able to play at all. We're going on a couple hikes. So I am going to go through about a 30-minute long routine that for me is just all about maintenance, about touching on enough stuff to kind of make up for the fact that I didn't get to play it all yesterday. Also to just try and get some concentrated work in that will keep my playing kind of focused and together over the next couple days when I'm not going to be doing much, if any, other playing at all. I think these are really valuable skills to have because in my experience as just a normal working adult who has other things in life besides this, it's important to be able to figure out how to keep your playing in pretty good shape, even if you're not able to play as much as you would otherwise want. So I don't have any other accessories with me. I don't have a piano. I don't even have I don't have another way to generate a pitch other than my phone here. So I do have a metronome though, and this metronome happens to make a single or a couple pitches. So we're going to do a little bit of work, starting with just some buzzing. I only have my C trumpet too, so we're going to kind of work with what we have here. Basing out of the beginning buzzing exercises in the Sachs book. It's always about the extent of the free buzzing that I find valuable. Right up to around C or D. I'm going to do the same thing on a mouthpiece. Just finding a little bit of a buzz. So definitely having to chase any form of consistency here. That's always what a day off will do, you know. Get a little bit of shaking, a little bit of fuzz in the sound, not as much accuracy as I want. So just spending a little bit more time there. So now I'm going to just do a few things to get myself grounded on the trumpet, and then we'll do some Chicowicz and some long tones. Oh. Okay. Do some who attacks now, some who, poo, two. Helps you to sort of find the balance of the air and the tongue. Now. Lip bends, bending just exactly a half step, moving between these two, trying to get the embouchure and the aperture all together, getting as much vibrancy in the sound as possible. So this is all at a pretty comfortable mezzo forte. I find it's easier to sort of find my sound in that area, especially if I'm a little, not feeling great from a day off. That'll do that, right? So finding my sound here, and then I'll move into a quieter area. So now I'm going to just move into some Chicowicz at an easier dynamic, mezzo piano or minus. Being able to do a pretty quiet and compact lip bend on a high G to F sharp for me is a pretty good litmus test of whether I'm kind of finally getting my embouchure into an efficient space. just dancing around the idea of efficiency here. I could try and push myself higher, but it's still not getting great consistent response there at C to D. So I'll move down a little bit. Just keep giving myself some time to play, you know. Travel routines like this for me are always, I find that I have to listen to myself a lot more, listen to my body more than on a normal day. If I'm just doing a daily routine, a 45-minute set, which, you know, I do every day normally, I find that I can trust that the exercises are going to get me where I need to go. But here, if I sort of plow through, sometimes I'll wind up at the end of a short routine feeling kind of crappy, and that's not a very good way to go about it. Here, I'm just trying to keep things dialed in, so I'm going to spend more time working to ensure that everything is sort of on the rails, so that I'm not exerting skill sets in a direction that are kind of off-road, you know? Just working on ease of response. I could play louder and maybe force the E to come out and get everything to sort of like work. But no, I'm looking for efficiency. I really want it to just sort of come easily and not have to push for this. So I'm just keeping myself at a mezzo piano, nice and compact and as easy as possible. I also always make sure to give myself forced breaks. You see, I will take the horn, put it down. This is both for my face and my mind, but also for my shoulders. I always have to pay extra attention to my left shoulder. When I was a younger player, I had poorer posture, and I induced a lot of tension on my left shoulder, pulled my shoulder forward, and because of that, I always have a little bit of extra tension here. And for long-term health, I've really tried to build in the habit of pulling my shoulders down and rotating a little bit. This is something that came from some awareness with Alexander technique, and it's been very helpful for my overall health to be more conscious of my posture, but especially of stagnant posture, of not holding in one position. You know, we can have so much tension there. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do on Chicowicz for there. That's high enough. That's, you know, beyond the working range that I ever need anyways. But I find that it's a great litmus test for me to be able to maintain an even flow and a lack of like tension, you know, real tension at least. No, of course you have to work a little bit to get into that range, but to me it's about kind of the feeling of efficiency that comes. If I can get myself up to around an E or an F with relative ease, I know that a C and D are kind of easily accessible at pretty much any dynamic. All right, so from here, I'm going to just do some descending interval work, sort of like the Sachs mid to low range intervals. I'll do them a little bit faster. I'm going to do them at 80. So having a little trouble with focus, right? So I'm adding in some bends to try and help myself maintain focus down here and to sort of gain focus as I continue to go. Of course, I've played into the middle and upper register already. Now I'm trying to challenge myself to keep a good compact setup as I go lower. It's easy for me to have my embouchure and aperture sort of open as I go low. That's one of like just a long-term struggle for me, always maintaining compactness down in the low register. So I have to work on that pretty actively. So in descending intervals especially, I wind up adding some focusing techniques like what I was just doing. Oh, all right, I'm going to grab my text here. All right, now I'm going to do some irons. We're going to just start with groups 8 and 9. I do a combined version of these two exercises. See if I can get some good focus at 92. wasn't getting the response I wanted there. So instead of just blowing on by it, I was like, let's work on that a little bit. Again, listening to myself. Catching myself from starting to play any louder, I was starting to creep into the mezzo range. I want to stay at a piano, challenge myself there. Now, before I continue with any more irons, I'm going to do some articulations. I find that this is a valuable thing to add after I begin an iron set, is to sort of come back and make sure that I'm able to get some really good, clear, succinct articulations. This is based again on the articulations that are in the Sachs Fundamentals book. Now here I'm just, the first set was single, then double, then triple as TTK, and then takata. I'll do that descending now. Just noting that The two triple tongues are not exactly the same. The TKT seems to have a bit of a hitch in it, so I'm just paying a little bit more attention to that. Just moving around in a slow double tongue down there. Again, just looking for compactness and immediacy here. Oh, okay. I'm feeling a little on the tight side. Not surprising at all, considering you didn't play yesterday, right? So now instead of continuing in with more irons, which is what I was planning to do, I'm going to do some, just a little bit of stamp. Get myself into the pedal register with a nice, comfortable, easy piano, maybe mezzo piano. And this I'll do relatively freely. find doing stamp in this manner, in a very quiet dynamic, with a lot of focus and as much fluidity and connectivity between each note as possible. I said it before, but I love the term connective tissue, having this connective tissue between each note, having that be like the test as to whether or not I'm playing well is really effective to me, especially if I'm feeling a little tight or if I'm feeling a little out of sorts. Doing stamp in this way for me really challenges my corners. It's actually a great it kind of not endurance, but I guess it's an efficiency exercise, because to play at piano down to the pedal register with good intonation, a pretty good sound, and then to move in and out of that register requires a tremendous amount of consistency of the corners, while also maintaining a great looseness of the aperture and good control points on the mouthpiece. Pretty slow valve changes too. Slow valves for me are a really great way to force myself to really carry the air all the way through each note. It helps me to ensure that I'm not sort of cheating and letting the valve changes manipulate my airstream. Something it might. Well, I'm not going to demonstrate. This is not what this point of this is. This is a routine. I'm trying to set up for good skills here. Maybe I'll talk about that in a different video. Maybe an exercise of the day. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to a little bit more irons. I know this video is getting a little longer. I said I was going to do 30 minutes, but between talking and things not feeling great, I'll just do a little bit more. I have the time to do it. I'm going to move on now. I'm going to do a combination. I'm going to do some of groups 11 and 12 as a mixture. happens when you try and burp in the trumpet. Do a few more, and then that's like what I'm going to call it for the morning. I'll be able to maybe come back and do a little more playing this afternoon, depending on time. But I've got myself at a point where my corners are. I'm feeling it in all my corners for sure here, all around. I've definitely been getting focus, getting some efficiency here, enough that I feel confident this will kind of tide me over for the day. And it's also about as much playing as I would want to do in one session, right the day after I traveled all day. Last time I played was 2 days ago in the morning only. So it's about as much as I'd want to do in one session. Then I'll come back later. I don't see yet. I don't think. No. Now I'm going to move to a combination of group 18 and 19. So group 19 is actually go. That way. I find it's very helpful for me to get up to this point and do a trill between the second. See if I can just get that sort of efficiency moving. Now I'm feeling a little tired actually. Corners are saying, okay, you've been doing a lot of focus work here. Okay, well, that's all I'm going to do for this. I hope that this maybe could help somebody, give somebody some ideas of things to work on when they're doing their routines. Um, Traveling is always an interesting thing with the trumpet. You know, anybody who's watching this video has chosen to play an instrument that is not super forgiving for most of us. So years ago, or for many years, I would say I struggled to find ways to keep myself going, keep myself in shape if I was traveling, or if I was on vacation, or if I had other obligations in my life. I would struggle to maintain consistency. And inevitably, if you get into a cycle of playing a day or taking a day off, playing a day, taking a day off, I have found that I might wind up doing more than I need to do, or more than I should do, given that sort of pattern. So finding a way to listen to yourself and balance your playing so that you can maintain your skill sets and not work yourself toward a decline by over expecting what can be done is really important. So having good routines from your daily fundamentals in your pocket, and knowing what you should pull out of your pocket in order to keep your playing going is really an important thing. For me, I've some pretty good faith that what I've just done is going to leave my playing set up for feeling pretty good. If I come back and I wind up having time to play later today, I'll be able to do some work. I can play, some etudes, or maybe I could do some more exercises. I don't know. I can come back and I can play the trumpet later, and I'll know that I've done some things, give myself a good break. But if I can't play later, well, if the next time I get to play is in 3 days, I'll also know that, I did some work here. My corners are burning. My embouchure did some work that has enabled me to maintain efficiency. Because through the duration of this short routine, or I guess it turned into a normal routine, I was really chasing efficiency, chasing a good sound, always trying to demand as much immediacy as possible, and working for as much ease as possible. So by doing these things and keeping in mind the long-term strategy of keeping in good shape with efficiency, I think that this sort of routine is very helpful, and this will wind up being very good for me. So hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.